Rebekah Farmer, what's going on?
I'm just hanging here talking to you finally. Very, very excited.
Yeah, we've known each other online for a little while. I found you on Instagram. Tailored Keto Health is what she is over on Instagram, you guys. Go check her out. Rebekah Farmer, you've been out there doing your thing. And I remember like first seeing some of your posts where you'd put like different before and after pictures. And unlike a lot of before and after pictures, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. And I've seen some people deal with the things you've dealt with on a lesser degree. But girl, if anybody can talk about how diet and lifestyle and God all changed their life, I think it's Rebekah Farmer. So really glad that we connected online.
I am too. Actually, Jimmy, I didn't tell you this when you first started following me on Instagram. We spoke years ago. I reached out to you when I first started health coaching in 2017, before I went through what I went through. And you were like, yeah, I'll have you on my show. And I messed it up because I got all stressed out. I didn't have the setup, and I rescheduled on you like 5 times until you were finally like, let's, put this on the back burner. That was how I used to be with everything. So I am a different person. Definitely.
That is amazing, because I have people obviously over the years that want to be on the show, and I happily try to squeeze everybody in that I can. That's interesting. I did not remember that. So thank you for
I wouldn't expect you to.
Late than never. 2020 is the year for it to happen. So it was meant to be.
I agree.
So tell us about this incredible story, because, when you hear people talk about dealing with health problems, generally it's a weight issue, most of the time overweight issue. But yours was quite the opposite problem. It was an underweight issue that was brought on by not just one, not just 2, 3, 4, over 10 autoimmune conditions. And of course, we know with autoimmunity that when you get one, you have a high propensity for getting multiple. So tell us that story. It's certainly a fascinating and a very powerful testimony to where you are today in your health.
Oh, man. I mean, you could start in 6th grade when I was diagnosed with osteoporosis. And everything just continued to get worse year after year. In 7th grade, I was diagnosed with multiple mood disorders, OCD, anxiety, depression, insomnia, narcolepsy. And these were not just diagnoses. I was truly struggling with all of this.
Did they ever get I mean, we know gut health plays such a big role. You must have had some major leaky gut going on, but 6th grade, like that's really young. Did they ever identify why it hit you so hard so early? Was it genetic?
It could be. I mean, I've been dealt a bad card genetic wise. It very well could be, but I did take antibiotics more times than I could ever count. And it probably started before 6th grade. I know that after 6th grade in high school, I was taking a ton. I was also diagnosed with failure to thrive. I had asthma, and I think it was.
What is failure to thrive? I haven't heard that.
Failure to thrive is Nutrition with Judy actually just made a post about it, and basically it's just my body doesn't respond very well. I believe that it's rooted in the central nervous system, which it explains what I was diagnosed with later, which is called central sensitization syndrome. It's just a dysregulation of your central nervous system, and it affects everything. It affects the mood disorders. It affects your immune system. I've been diagnosed with cachexia, sarcopenia. My body was just constantly being pounded with infection. I was getting sick all the time. My thyroid was low, and this is, I'm still fairly young, so all this stuff is going on. And then in 7th grade, I was rushed to the emergency room. I thought I was having a heart attack. they diagnosed me with degenerative disc, costochondritis, which is inflammation of the chest tissue. And then they said that I had more anxiety and sent me home with opioids and, just more benzos.
SSRI.
So, I mean, I continued to take the medications for over 13 years, Adderall, clonazepam, and Ambien. But along the way, things just kept getting worse. I saw a chiropractor finally and discovered that I had scoliosis and I still had the osteoporosis. So chiropractor did help a lot, and it still does. They're awesome. Still continued. So the list it adds on and on. Go ahead.
I was going to say, how many total conditions did you have simultaneously?
I've never counted. It's over 20.
Wow.
I don't say over 20 because I don't think people would believe it.
Yeah.
I can hardly believe. I mean, every time I talk about it, it's like, I can't even believe it.
Your doctors had to be so confounded as, wait a minute, this is like a lot of conditions that people who have advanced age deal with. So what are you, in your early 20s now, early to mid 20s now? So yeah. Like when people get in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they start dealing with some of what you've dealt with, especially the osteoporosis in the 6th grade. What were you, like 12, 11, 12?
Younger.
Even younger. So the point being, you're dealing with all these diseases of advanced age and you were so young, like the doctors had to be confounded.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard a doctor say, you're too young to be dealing with all of this.
Yeah.
I have heard that so many times. And I would just sit there kind of really disheartened and just say, I know. And so many doctors, no more suggestions to make. A lot of doctors just saying, oh, you have anxiety, you have an eating disorder, you have, but some of them would recommend me to specialists who did help, but they weren't sustainable. So I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and crest scleroderma. And I finally went to a GI doctor, found out all of that was really messed up, gastroparesis, diverticulitis, IBS, IBD, slow transit colon, really bad case of slow transit colon. I was there all day. And they were like, you might have to stay or come back the next day. And these were issues that I didn't even address for such a long time because who talks about poop? I was in pain all the time. And also my family has their own issues. My older sister has epilepsy, severe. She's had grand mal seizures since I was born. My father has chronic pain. So I really bottled up a lot of these issues and I didn't talk about them because I wanted to be the strong one without issues, and comparing myself to someone who's having grand mal seizures and not breathing and passing out. It's like, clearly this is the real issue. So anyways, just so many things. And I was finally diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. And I started seeing Lyme doctors, and it did help. Some of the IV treatments, but it was not sustainable. It's so expensive. It's crazy. Some of these people will go in there, be hooked up to an IV, and they're spending millions per month. And it's like, are you kidding me? I couldn't even, start a GoFundMe to ask for that much money. That's not right. I did receive ozone therapy in New York City from a doctor who did it for free. He was like, you've got bad Lyme disease, and he said that I would need to do it at minimum for 8 months, and I just couldn't move to New York City. So I really started intervening with diet. And I continued to work with functional medicine doctors eventually. I got off of the medications with a strict ketogenic diet.
Can we pause there? Jump right into keto just yet, because it seems to me mainstream medicine failed you. And it's a common refrain I talk about in a lot of my work, that mainstream medicine does what they do well, they do well. They get you out of pain if you're in pain. If you're with a broken limb, they can put the limb back together. They do those things very well. Chronic diseases, autoimmune conditions, they're an utter and abysmal failure. Like when they said, oh, you just have an eating disorder, you just have anxiety and all these things that you need SSRIs and all the rest for, here, take this drug. They're not understanding this intricate connection between gut health, brain health, and whole body health, which is what you learn in functional medicine once you found keto and a keto carnivore type of diet. So how did that make you feel in the midst of it? Did you feel the onus yourself that you had done something wrong?
In the midst of it, I felt like, what else are my options? I didn't know the intimate connection between our gut and our brain. And even when I started hearing about it, I never could have imagined that it was as powerful as it is. And it's like I didn't know what else to do. And I was just getting by, and I was getting worse. I knew that they were Band-Aids.
And at a time in your life when you're still developing, I mean, this happened when you started in the 6th grade. Like, I don't know how it was for you in middle school and high school. Awkward. And so,
oh my gosh.
Already awkward, and now here you are dealing with all these health issues, and they had to manifest on the outside. Talk about the weight and how it manifested in your weight and how you looked and what kind of comments you got from peers.
It made me anxious because I was so uncomfortable, and I was constantly trying to hide a lot of pain and a lot of issues. And I think that's largely why people thought I had an eating disorder, even when I was at a healthy weight, because I just felt so uncomfortable in my own skin, and it showed. And I just was extremely misunderstood. So it did actually manifest itself into true insecurity, true anxiety, true depression. And a lot of the behavioral issues, I guess, that one would already be going through in high school or middle school.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've dealt with a lot of trauma. And also in 6th grade, my family, we moved from my childhood home in Michigan. But prior to that, we had moved 8 times, I think. So I never really had a sense of home or put down roots. And when I finally did that, we picked up and left. I was living in a hotel, going to multiple different schools, trying them out. My world was just crashing. And I think this does play into how my central nervous system finally just snapped. And the trauma and the experience of it, I didn't deal with these things. And you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to take care of your stress, even at a young age. I wish that, I just wish that I had doctors who told me to consider other things earlier.
Well, and therein lies the problem, Rebekah, is there's so many patients like yourself, maybe not to the degree that you had to deal with all the things that you had going on, but just the average everyday person dealing with type 2 diabetes, or the average everyday person dealing with any manifestation of insulin resistance, for example, they're not getting answers from their mainstream doctors. So I'm assuming you found functional medicine once you became an adult and got out of the house and started living on your own.
Yes, correct. I was still living with my parents when I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease, And at that time, I was prohibited to work because I was so medically unstable. And my parents required me to work to live under that roof, understandably, even with all the diagnoses and everything. But I couldn't. I was bedbound with crippling fatigue to the point where I would be suffocating. And I would ask, I would ask people to just come and massage my back because I couldn't breathe. It's like, it was very, very scary. I was diagnosed with non-epileptic seizures. And, in hindsight, I am very grateful that my family sort of turned on me. Yeah, I am, because that's what it took for me to rely on God and to just figure it out. I was on my own, and a lot of people really helped me while I continued to work with doctors.
How long ago was that?
2017.
Okay, so we're not talking that long ago, you guys. She's just been dealing with this for the past few years, and you were severely underweight. When you were 18 years old, the 3 years ago, however old you were,
yeah.
How low did you get in weight?
Sorry?
How low did you get in your weight?
The lowest that I've ever weighed myself is 70 pounds. But I look at those pictures from recently, and I've been smaller than that. When I was taking the Adderall and still in high school, I was below that. Yeah. I was totally wired, total zombie. And I was still like 5'5" in high school. I'm fairly tall. Exactly. My mouth took over my face. It literally took over.
This is from her Instagram page, you guys. Go look this up. When I was looking at some of these, and I know what you look like now because I've seen you everywhere online, and then I saw one of your old ones, and it made me I lost my breath looking at that. Now that's 70 or less pounds. How much do you weigh today? It's rude to ask that of a woman, but I think
I am proud of it.
Proud of it now.
I am at least 125, though I know I've packed on more. Yes. I'm probably sitting around 135, and I'm not stopping, to be honest. Like, I reached my goal weight, but I like being strong. I believe that muscle it's a second immune system. It's longevity. Heck, I can eat more. I feel better, and I don't care. I'm so opposite than what I used to be. And even if I look in the mirror and it's like, wow, I mean, I've never been this size, and it's a little scary, but it's like, I feel awesome.
And did you guys notice that when she said goal weight, she wasn't talking about on the way down. She's talking about on the way up. Right. And I do love seeing, you're so inspirational with guys. You ain't got no excuse. You got to get the gym and hit the gym. And people would watch you working out, Rebekah. Oh, she's so teeny tiny, but oh my gosh, like from whence you came to now is night and day. I'm assuming a lot of these autoimmune things and other issues are starting to kind of tame down, or are you still dealing with remnants of that today?
Remnants, yes, maybe, but I never could have imagined that I would be where I am now. I've never thrived more in my entire life. And I truly mean that. I can't remember a time, even from being a kid and climbing trees with my friends, I can't imagine a time that I've ever felt better. And I have reversed all of them. I have stopped them in their tracks. Not only that, but I have healed from crest scleroderma. It creates excess scar tissue in my body. So a lot of my mobility was lost. My muscles they were not even muscles. It was dry. It was immobile. I now have gotten rid of most of that scar tissue, except for one area in my upper back. And I have new muscles that I didn't know existed before. I can do things I was never able to do before. The Addisons and Hashimoto's, all of those, they have reversed. And I don't just mean symptomatically, I mean my labs have reversed. That doesn't always happen with Hashimoto's, hypothyroid, and a lot of this stuff. Even, the autoimmune markers, they've reversed. And that is why that didn't happen until I went from keto to carnivore, where all the autoimmune stuff was stopped in its tracks.
Right. And anybody that follows your work on Instagram knows you, girl, you are the pemmican queen. Girl likes to, like, in fact, I just saw a picture of it you just did last night.
It's so good.
And everything. So definitely you live by example, and it looks like nutrient density is the key for you, because a lot of people, when they go keto, to a lesser degree carnivore, because it's kind of hard to mess up carnivore, but when they go keto, they like to bring in treats and this kind of thing. Your idea of treat, I loved this on your video the other day, or maybe a couple weeks ago. You said, oh, I just had a dessert of 10 egg yolks.
It was 15.
You put in.
Yes, I did 15 egg yolks for over a week.
Wow.
This company sent me some coupons, and I mean, my brain lit up. It's like, okay, I need to up the fat. And I just kept it up because I felt great. And I make a custard with them. It's so easy. And it's like people do feel like there's no variety in the carnivore diet. And I resonate with that completely, because I tried it 8 times and I failed until I made it my own and I made it sustainable.
Well, and now you're coaching clients on it as well to show them how it is. The thing I love about you being a coach now, Rebekah, what's your problem? I'm sorry. Compared to your story is the most extraordinary of overcoming insurmountable health odds, and not just coming back from that, but now thriving. Like, people looking at you on the screen right now, oh my gosh, that girl does not look sick. She looks vibrant. She looks healthy. She looks like she's well on her way to living a very long and healthy life, whereas 5 years ago, that was unheard of in your mind.
Totally unheard of. And, I do work with people who they're going through things worse, in my opinion. Like, they actually do have to remove their colon, or, I've been through a lot, but everyone deals with trauma differently. Everyone deals with it differently. And I just can't compare my pain to others. But I think, I just wish that I could put some of my clients on a pedestal and be like, look at this warrior, look what they're going through, and choosing to have a good attitude about. Some of these people I'm a life coach as well, and some of these people are being abused by narcissists. And, what do? I have a kid, I'm married, and just trauma that I couldn't have even imagined. My family, I would never mention names. It's completely private, but I've worked with people who 3 of their family members have been murdered. And working with people with autoimmune issues, I noticed that most of us have dealt with trauma.
Yep.
It's a common thing. Not all, but most.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot as well. I've been around the block a little while and talking about health. And yeah, autoimmune, when you look at the core of people dealing, usually it's multiple autoimmune conditions, something happened. Right. And you brought up the T word a few times, trauma, in telling your story. Is it just going through the health stuff that was traumatic, or did you have other external factors that were trauma as well?
It's both. It's really both. Moving around a lot, it was traumatizing for me. Yeah. And it kind of took away my roots. I also wasn't spiritually mature or grounded. So I was just grasping for straws. And it just, really heightened all of that true anxiety, insomnia, depression, OCD. I felt like I wanted to rip out of my own skin. Pair that with poor nutrition and not being able to absorb any of the nutrients that I was eating. To be honest, I never really did eat poorly. My mom didn't give us sugar. I was lucky if I got chocolate chips in my sandwich. Never had pop, never had Gushers. I didn't even like pop. So I'm really blessed for that. But yeah, trauma, it was very traumatizing to be misdiagnosed. I would say that the doctors actually caused more trauma than anyone. And then having my own family turn against me and throw me in an eating disorder unit for a month to be treated with the standard diabetic diet, which is 75% carbohydrates, low fat to the point where I couldn't even ask for butter as a condiment anymore. That was traumatizing. And just not being heard, all these doctors throwing meds at me and just, here, fill out this anxiety whatever quiz. I just felt so degraded, and I felt like, where else do I turn? So I'm so grateful that I finally worked with functional medicine doctors. I spent the out-of-pocket money for a long time that I didn't have, but I never would have discovered what I needed to without that.
And now you're trying to be like that fisherman that's trying to rescue all the fish that are on back in. And
I am.
It's just, it's a sad reality that I don't think enough people think about. The failure of the mainstream medical system on for people like yourself and all the clients that you see now. People are left wondering what's wrong with them. Why can't they get this figured out? What's wrong with me that doctors can't even figure out? Doctors are supposed to know everything as it relates to your health. And I think the sad truth that you and I know, and a lot of my listeners know, is that's just not true. They're not taught nutrition. They're not taught the connection. They're not really taught anything about gut health. They're not taught anything beyond some pharmacological or physiological kind of surgery that they can do to help their patients. And to me, that's worse than a Band-Aid. Like a Band-Aid at least kind of provides an opportunity for the body to heal itself. A lot of these drugs that they put you on, putting you in a eating disorder ward for a month, I mean, my God, like what is that supposed to do other than cause more trauma, which is exactly what it did.
Totally, 100%. So I was thrown into an eating disorder unit because no one had thought to test my fecal matter, like to test my gut. When I lost all of that severe weight, they just heard, okay, she's on a keto diet. Clearly this girl's trying to lose weight, And I kept telling them I was eating 6,000 calories a day. I plugged it in. That's why I got so good at making these keto treats and stuff. Because it's like, I need the most hyper palatable, easy keto ice cream after breakfast, after lunch, after dinner. And no one even thought to test my gut or, does she even have salmonella or something like this? It was just really bad. So when I was finally diagnosed with chronic C. diff, which is another thing that happened, that was more recent, it was a relief. But even going through that, I had to go through 13 rounds of antibiotics. I was resistant to all of them. I went through so much getting approved for a fecal transplant. Went through 3 of those. They all failed. Wow. But just all along the way, they really, really let me down. And I recently listened to a podcast with Benjamin Bickman, and he pointed out something really, really interesting to me, that doctors they don't go to school to learn how to really think about things that they should be thinking about. It's an economical thing. They're paid to treat people in and out. and to prescribe things. That's pretty much it. And it's so easy to look up, like, what are they taught as far as nutrition? It's a tiny little course, crash course, and all of it is lies, the nutrition guidelines. And it's like, why are these the people that we depend on? Thankfully, health and nutrition, I think, it's gotten more of a spotlight. Keto is getting more of a spotlight, but even so, there are people that are always going to want to manipulate you and control you. And there are so many keto food products that they're just not going to help you. It
Right.
made me worse. It's very addictive. It's going to jack up your dopamine and your hormones, and it's a stepping stone. I think it's great and it's better than the other stuff, but I just hate to see people so held back by those who are supposed to be helping us.
Well, and by the way, Ben Bigman's going to be on this podcast here soon, talking about his new book. So really excited to talk, because he's very wise about all this. But getting to your greater point here, it's like, how do you get people to get out of that system? Because I think once your eyes are opened, it's easy to say, why would I ever go back? I'll go to my functional medicine doctors and get to the root cause of what's going on, and not just stick the worse than a Band-Aid solution on it. And so it's how they're finding people like you, and how they're learning about diets like keto and carnivore, and how they're doing their own research. Like, is COVID-19 going to be the impetus that people get to kind of break free from, what they've always known, and that is go to mainstream doctors? What's going to wake people up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that we are coming to it. Unfortunately, I think that people who have been on heavy medications and prescriptions for so long, they are convinced that they need that. They're convinced that they'll need it forever. My mom is still on depression medicine, and it's like, I know she could get off of it. And I've been diagnosed with so many things that were chronic, and I've overcome them. And it's just like, you can rewrite your DNA. Epigenetics is a thing. Why aren't people talking about this? Like, I am a different person. I'm a different person, not just my mind and physically, down to my DNA, and I can override whatever I want via nutrition.
They're not talking about it because doctors don't know about epigenetics.
Exactly.
To me, Rebekah, I've been at this game for over 15 years now. They were talking about epigenetics 15 years ago when I first started getting in this space. And it's like, how long does it take to infiltrate down to the people that need to hear it the most? Those people on the front lines, those people that told Rebekah Farmer, you're never going to really get anywhere. It's just going to get progressively worse. Here, take more and more medications. And it's like, that's not giving patients hope. What your story demonstrates here today is there is hope, but people can't find that hope unless they seek you out, but they don't know who you are.
Yeah. I think just continuing to speak out about it. This is why I'm so passionate. I mean, please ask me what I do. Please ask me why I only buy meat. I don't go into grocery stores. What do I get LaCroix? I love talking about it. And people are just like, what? Red meat is so bad for your heart. And, it's just like, let me talk about it, please. I know. But it's out there if you do your own research, and it's on Google, it really is. And I think that people just need to be more open-minded and give a rip about their health. I think that complacency is maybe part of the issue. It's easy to, I'm very grateful that the medications ended up not working for me, because I may still be on them if I could get away with it. I'm grateful that even keto failed me, because in reality, I was addicted to those foods, and it manifested itself into a binge eating disorder, and I had a brand new problem. And I discovered carnivore. So I think, I really want people to be encouraged that what you go through is put there so that you can learn from it. I believe that with all my heart, even if I didn't believe in God. That's how life works. What you go through makes you stronger if it doesn't kill you. It really does.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
It's on every single playlist in my Spotify.
Alexa to play it. Just kidding. I'll never get her going. So talk about how keto failed you, because some people hear that, oh my gosh, I thought keto was the bee's knees. Was it because you started relying too much on the sweet treats that it failed you? What was the Achilles heel?
So there are a lot of reasons, a couple of different reasons. My gut was really jacked up, so I needed to remove the fiber. That played a large role into it. And removing the anti-nutrients like oxalates and stuff, took down the inflammation and the swelling like crazy.
And there's oxalates in all kinds of keto.
So many. Baby spinach was...
almonds and green leafy vegetables, a lot of things that you wouldn't think, oh, that's healthy. Oh, not for someone that's oxalate. Right. The oxalates don't do well. Right.
I think it depends on the state of your gut. I really do. So for me, all of this stuff was very problematic. Even the fiber, removing the fiber stopped the ulcerative colitis. Sorry. And that was huge because it was making me throw up involuntarily. I couldn't eat without throwing up. And just removing fiber, that whenever I try fiber again, my mood is hugely affected. And it just screws up my gut, and it gives me an ulcerative colitis flare up. So that is really, really interesting to me. The keto treats, yes. So like I mentioned, I embraced keto with all my heart to eat at a surplus when I didn't understand what was going on, and I was just losing the weight. And it was wonderful. Keto alone, in the right way, that's when I reversed the Hashimoto's and Addison's disease. I was able to get out of bed, and the suffocation attacks were getting much, much better, and my mood was better. But I still had all these issues. So that did manifest itself into a binge eating disorder, because I was purposely choosing these hyper palatable things. And my mindset sort of became, it was my job to eat as much as possible. I was trying everything to put on weight, but I was not going to not do keto because it was the only way that I could get out of bed. So I was very stubborn about that. Even as they continued to diagnose me with an eating disorder, it's like, you know what? I have to do this to be alive. And I was just convinced that that was God's gift to me, and I was going to do keto for the rest of my life. But then it started becoming this binge eating disorder where...
Can we talk about binge eating in the context of someone who is underweight, trying to eat more calories? And you said even with the egg yolks and stuff, you got up to 6,000 calories a day. Some people would say that's more than I've eaten since I've gone keto. So 500's about my max of going keto, but 6,000 calories, people would say, well, you needed to. So how did you identify it as a binge eating?
That's a great question. Thank you. It's when, it started with constantly thinking about my next meal, because it truly became my job to get in as much as possible. And I took it very seriously. So then I thought about what are the most hyperpalatable things and how much can I get away with eating? And looking in the mirror and seeing my body continue to turn into a skeleton and just be emaciated, I snapped, and it triggered this fear inside me. And it was like, I'm just going to use food to deal with everything, you know? And it triggered totally. It was totally mental.
Yeah.
And also all of the thoughts in the back of my head that I was strong enough to know were not true, they started breaking me down. Like, what if I really do have an eating disorder? I've been diagnosed with it more times than I can count, and I didn't know I didn't know it was C. diff. So it was like, what if it really is all in my head? And it was just all of these lies from the devil took me down. And it became easier and easier to eat large quantities at once. And, it was just like that. But it was totally my confidence and giving into these lies. Like, you do have an eating disorder, and, looking in the mirror and being afraid. It's like, I do have body dysmorphia, and I just lost it. I lost it.
So it sounds to me that you were not eating necessarily for the calories, but based on how you felt and how your feelings were and the emotions and now you use body dysmorphia to it. So, girl, is there anything you haven't been through? Like cancer come up at any point? No, I'm not wishing that on you. But, you've been through so many things, but I want a happy ending this. Not that we're finishing soon, but I want people to know all this she's been through, you guys. And she's smiling today because now she's vibrant and healthy. I love how bold you are with your faith. You're not ashamed to talk about you got God in your heart. And the big thing I love about your story that I hope everybody takes from it, when I read your Instagram, I just smile. Your gratefulness is just something so refreshing today. There are so many spoiled people right now about wearing a mask or having to do this and having to be restricted. I'm going, you ungrateful beep, because you're just not seeing the big picture here, realizing you're still alive. You're able to become something. And that's what your story says to me every time I look at it.
Yeah, thank you. Gratitude changed my life. It's all about your will. God had to heal my will and my spirit, and practicing gratitude every day made such a difference. Affirmations every day. When you speak things out loud and when you decide to change your thoughts and reinforce it every day, even if you don't believe it when you're doing it, it changes you. It causes a biochemical reaction. It causes physical response. If you say something enough times out loud, your body will obey you 100%. And that is science. I'm not talking about, woo-woo stuff. That's science. And I believe that my creator knew that when he created us, That's why he tells us to count our blessings, be in the word, reinforce this stuff. He created us. He knows how my brain works. He knows biochemical and neurotransmitters and all of this stuff, and just focusing on the positives. No one can deny that. And so I have stuck with it. And that is a huge part of my healing, being able to be grateful for everything, even when I was going through it. It was humbling to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, it's the big picture. It's not, I got so much better when I took my focus off of me. And I had so much more confidence when I stopped looking at me. I had this desire to just be who I was created to be and heal and do my best. That's what feels good. I don't care what anyone thinks. And God really, he has delivered me from so much. And I am not ashamed to talk about it. I'm really not. I remember praying in my bed, God, please save my life. And if you do, I promise I will never be ashamed to talk about you. And it's the truth.
Well, if all that you've been through didn't point you to God, I would have wondered what was wrong with you.
Yeah, true.
Like less than half of what you've been through have turned to God and helped me get out of this, God. And yeah. And good for you honoring that commitment, knowing that the healing hand that he brought on your life helped with that as well. Yeah, he knows exactly the number of hairs on your head. And yeah, so you're living in his grace today. That's awesome. I love that. I love it when people are not afraid to share their faith. And, people kind of freak out about that. Oh my God, don't bring God into, okay, well, God's there, whether you want to admit it or not, he's there. So, thank you for sharing that part of your story. So tell us a little bit about what you do now. Like, you see clients, how are people finding you, and are they inspired by your story? They see you on podcasts like this one and go, oh my gosh, I want to talk to that girl.
Yeah, pretty much. I've just been really blessed to be on podcasts this year, and interviews and speaking publicly in small independent yoga studios, just little things here and there, and even speaking out like in groups on I just caught that.
No.
Namaste. Speaking out in the Facebook groups and stuff like that. So a lot of those groups I reached out to when I was going through it, and I was desperate. And so now I'm coming back around, and some of those people remember me from before, just a year ago, and they're like, oh my gosh, what have you done? So I was like, okay, I was already a health coach. I'm a certified health and life coach. It's all up here, but I was not well enough for a very long time to do it. And when I got better, it was like, now it's time. So I made a website. It's not fancy. It's just my story. It is what it is. And I pray for God to bring the right people into my life, and he never fails to deliver. So usually people are like, wow, you've been through a lot, or I'm actually trying to gain weight, or I have this central nervous system disorder that no one else has ever heard of, or simply just the way that I go about it. I don't believe that there is one diet that works best for everyone. We are all so bio-individual, and what works best for me right now is going to change. I really think so. And so I don't just want to help people deal with a 1-2 short-term goal, which, I can do that. I'm happy to. But what I would prefer to do is equip people with the understanding and intuition that will take them for the rest of their lives. Understanding their body and equipping them with these tools that they can think for themselves, and they can figure out what is my body really craving? What is this craving really trying to say? What works best for me? And it's gonna look different from the other person. So I have this, with everything that I've been through and all of the times that I've tried to fix my health with diet, because I know how powerful it is. It's just the way that I think. I analyze everything, the heck out of it. So I'm good at doing it for other people.
You're one of those.
I am a total data nerd, analysis paralysis. But thankfully, now that I'm healed of my OCD, it doesn't take over like it used to. So I can just use it to my advantage.
We're going to pick your brain, Miss Health Coach, because things that I think paralyzes people more than anything else in the keto space, and to a lesser degree carnivore, because it's hard to mess up the ratios there. But it's the whole, if it fits your macros and fitting into like macronutrient ratios between fat and protein and carbohydrate minimize, help kind of clear up some of that. How do you help tailor, because you are tailored keto health, how do you help tailor people's diets to kind of find what that proper mix is for them?
So it depends number one is leptin sensitivity. Leptin is one of our hunger hormones, and when you become leptin sensitive, your body starts sending the right signals, and you are able to receive them. So when people change their diet, like in the Facebook groups, I'll see some people say, I've gained this amount of weight and then I just stopped gaining. Or you'll see some people say, I healed with high fat, or I healed with high protein. It depends on the person. It depends on your level of fat adaptation. It depends on your stress hormones. It depends, do you have a thyroid issue? It depends on how much body fat you're carrying on your own body, your ability to tap into that. So again, it goes along what I said, what works best at this time is probably going to change some point in your life. So you have to look at all of those different things for the bio-individual person. And then, some people really, I can get away with eating pretty low fat and still be running on ketones because I've been fat adapted for a long time. But if I'm stressed out, it's not going to work, and I have to do much higher fat. I can't get away with the high protein. It depends on insulin sensitivity. When I was so lightweight, I didn't have that muscle to help me with insulin sensitivity. So I had to stick with high fat for quite a while. But there came a time where I just threw it all out the window and I just ate meat. So you also have to consider the mental state of whatever the person is going through. If something feels restrictive, it's not going to work. Even if it's, the perfect, well-constructed thing for them, if they feel restricted, it will not work. It changes. Your mood affects your digestion. If you're in a negative state while you're sitting there eating your dinner, it's going to show up on your blood sugars. It's going to show up in your poor digestion. So you have to enjoy it. And I'm pretty good at helping people do that. And if, I will help someone do a paleo diet if that's what they feel best on. I can help you choose the low oxalate veggies and smartest options. I've been put in a box more times than I can count, and I don't want anyone else to be put in a box or labeled. But that's my thinking process, is to look at the person as a whole, and I put myself in their shoes. What would I do? And I just engineer it here and there.
That's awesome. And I think that's something that people want. The problem is people like to be told, give me the macronutrient ratio, tell me exactly what to do. And when people ask me that, Rebekah, I go, heck, if I know, you're going to have to tinker with it to see what works now. And then the important part that you mentioned in your work is it's what's right now, but it may not be right 3 years from now. And so you constantly be tinkering with that. Earlier you said I don't shop in grocery stores anymore except for my the
LaCroix.
Yeah, the LaCroix. And so I have backyard chickens, and so I get fresh eggs every day.
I'm so jealous.
Oh, if you ever come to Carolina, I'll give you a dozen eggs, but they are amazing, and I eat at least 8 a day. And so there's this whole notion of people are like, well, I want to be, have more food freedom and more ability to get the foods I need. Talk about that issue, because I know that's a heart of your work as well, is helping people become food freedom, get away from that convenience packaging of all the kind of fake keto out there. How do you do that? Yeah,
making it realistic and practical is huge. A lot of people are just like, I don't know how to afford this. First of all, eating real food is the foundation. Cut out all the crap. And if you need substitutes, there are simple substitutes like the custard or heavy whipping cream sweetened with stevia. It's very simple. So eat real food is step number one. And then if you're eating mostly meat, get to know your local farmer and your local butcher. That's what I did. My relationship with my butcher, it really played a big role in my healing. She was hooking me up with free fish skins, which it sounds crazy, but they are so delicious. I was sensitive to pork, so I couldn't do pork rinds. I was like, gosh, I need something crunchy, salty, easy. Salmon skin is so amazing, and just I get bags of it for free.
Wow.
And that's free protein, man. That accounts for half of my protein, and protein is not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And so just get creative, think outside the box. Don't be afraid to talk to your butcher, talk to grocery stores that are throwing things out otherwise. I do like US wellness meats a lot, but I cannot afford them on a regular basis. So I really pick and choose. I know that I love their Denver lamb ribs, so I buy them because it's the best, fattiest lamb I've ever found. Up there with Billy Doe meats. They're amazing. It's just, experimenting and looking here and there. But I think that connecting with your local farmers is so huge, and they will hook you up. They want to hear from you. They love it, and they need our support.
When I visited a local farm here about 8 or 10 years ago, when they first opened, they've since shut down, sadly. But when they were open, I would be like, okay, you have all these great steaks. Where are the other bits to the animal? Because you don't just throw that away. Oh, we've got all kinds of stuff. We just didn't think anybody would want to see a beef liver in the refrigerator. I'm like, yeah. But then I'm like, the thing I want to try, I've always been dying to try, is a tongue. And
it's so good.
2 beef tongues for $2. And I mean, it's this gigantic piece of tongue. Dude, it's lick you. I'm like, it's just like muscle meat. It's just another muscle, the tongue of muscle. Yes. Anyway, people freak out about it. It's going to lick you back. Yes, it did lick me back because it was so good. You can make I remember I prepared it because I put it in the crock pot and it started smelling up the house with all this smell. And then I slide open and pull it open. It's all this.
So fun to feel.
It's awesome. And then I put like taco seasoning on there and salt, of course. And then I threw some blueberries just to kind of tame it down.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it was
that sounds amazing. Oh, that sounds perfect. Wow.
Yeah. And so people, they don't realize there is a plethora of those kinds of meals. So thank you for the tip about seeing your butcher and a local farmer, because they do want to work with you. And the cool thing is, if you visit a local farmer, you know that it's being taken care of well. And it's like my 17 chickens back there. I know, because I know what I feed.
That's the other thing.
Grass.
I don't trust. I have, I like to eat grass-fed, but I can get away with grain-fed, but it depends on the source. I have been so swollen from getting grain-fed meat from Costco. And, I've gotten bone marrow from Whole Foods where it was just like disgusting.
Yeah.
So I really like to know where it's coming from, how it was handled. That consistency really makes a difference. Yeah.
And in the end, when you know where it comes from, it makes you appreciate it more. Yeah, you spend a little more money up front, but unless you're eating 6,000 calories like Rebekah Farmer, you tend to not eat very often. Now, I'm assuming you kind of eat throughout the day to be able to get all that in, whereas someone like myself is the polar opposite of you. I maybe eat 2 meals in a day, and that's my whole day is in those 2 meals within like a 6-hour window I'm eating, and then I'm intermittent fasting the rest of the time. I'm assuming fasting is totally out for someone like yourself.
Now, to be honest with you, I do OMAD.
Really?
I've been doing OMAD for a while, and I can gain on it.
How many calories do you eat in the one meal?
Probably around 2,500, 3,000.
Okay. So
I can put it down.
what this demonstrates, you guys, is healing has taken place in this young lady, and she is now able to eat somewhat normal. Like some people probably heard the 6 grand in calories earlier and went, oh my God, I can never get that much food down. But you've healed and you're still healing, and you're not that far removed from being severely diseased. And so I hope if anybody is watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast today, that this inspires you, that regardless of where you are in your journey, whether it's a weight loss journey, a weight gain journey, or you're dealing with some kind of chronic disease, autoimmune disease, you can overcome. Rebekah Farmer is proof positive of that. And again, you guys go check her out over on Instagram. Let me pull your page up. There you are. You just got 3 more followers while we were talking here today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Tailored Keto Health over on Instagram. She does lots of stories where she does her workout routine. She does stories where she does TikTok videos and pointing at things. And she's all the time making pemmican. You never know what you're going to get on Rebekah. But go follow her. And Rebekah, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure. Awesome. Thank you so much.